Hey y'all! So it's been a year. I posted my first video on YouTube a year ago. It still hasn't really sunk in. I've been thinking about it for a few days, and it's a really big deal for me, especially because this has been a really intense year for me in a lot of ways. And just the fact that I've been able to commit to a project like this for a year now, something that involves a lot of time and work and commitment, that makes me feel really happy. But to be fair, a lot of the credit goes to all of you. When I first started thinking about making videos, I was reading a lot of advice about doing stuff like this, and one of the most common pieces of advice was to make sure that you have really thick skin, because people on the internet can be really harsh, and comment sections online can be really scary places. But in the past year, I have my computer right here, let me check. So in the past year, I have right now 13,376 subscribers. I've made, I think, 82 videos. I'm just shy of 1.5 million views. And in all of that, people have been really, really nice. You all have been really kind and supportive. My comment sections are amazing. There has been a very, very, very little bit of people being, maybe trolling a little bit or posting things that are unkind or rude, but it's so rare. I almost never see that on my videos. I went into this being so prepared to deal with people being mean sometimes, and I just haven't had much of that. So I really want to thank you all for being extraordinary and being kind and thoughtful and posting comments that are kind and thoughtful and intelligent. It makes such a huge difference, and it's made working on this project so much easier. So thank you. So I'll tell you real quick that I am I'm dealing with some seasonal allergies right now, and I'm also recovering from a little bit of a cold that I got from my son, because that's what happens when you have a 3-year-old. They get sick all the time, and then you get sick. So I'm going to try and minimize the amount of times that I have to obnoxiously clear my throat. So I have some water here, and I have some tea, and I'm probably going to be sipping on those fairly frequently just to help out my throat. So I hope sipping sounds don't bother you. Y'all asked a lot of questions, which is awesome. I was really afraid that no one was going to ask questions, but that didn't happen. So I have a few questions from my patrons on Patreon. I'm going to run through those real quick, and then I will go to my YouTube comment questions, and I will try and answer those in the order that I received them. I am also going to try and answer these as concisely as I can. I could probably take any one of these questions and talk for 20 minutes about it, but I want to get to as many as I can without making this video too long, because my computer can't handle really long videos right now. So, my first question from one of my patrons on Patreon. If y'all aren't familiar with Patreon, there'll be a link down in my description box. It's basically a platform kind of like Kickstarter where you can pledge to support an artist on a monthly basis for like $1 a month. And it's super, super, super helpful. And I'm really grateful for all my patrons. My patrons? My patrons. Let's see. So, Melanie asks, what song is guaranteed to always cheer you up / motivate you? Love you lots, my honey. I feel so privileged to be a fan, and I so much consider you a friend. I'm really grateful to have you as a fan and friend also, Melanie. Thank you. So the song that's always guaranteed to cheer me up and motivate me, I don't know if there's a specific song. I will say that I have a Spotify playlist that's all songs from Broadway musicals, and that usually motivates me and cheers me up really effectively. I usually listen to it when I'm preparing to make a video, just because when I was young, like junior high school, I had dreams of performing in Broadway musicals. And my life has gone in a pretty different direction since then, and that's fine. But listening to songs from Broadway musicals helps me to reconnect with that part of me who was very young and had that very exciting dream. So, I know that's more of a genre than a song, but that's it. Next question is, do you do a lot of planning to the point where you have a very precise idea of how you want the video to look and stick to that through to completion, or do you tend to have a general sense of what you want and then allow that to develop organically? A little bit of both, and it depends on the video. If it's a general trigger video where I'm just kind of maybe doing lights or rambling or something like that, I improvise a lot more with those. My role plays tend to be more organized, and I tend to plan those out a lot more in advance. So I actually have right here. So this is my outline for my last commune video. And what I'll do is I'll usually, you can kind of see this here, I'll usually write some dialogue for the beginning of the video and then just include kind of an outline of all the points that I want to hit. And then if I have any specific jokes or lines or anything like that that I know I want to include, I'll put those in the outline. I'll type those up, I'll print them off, and then I'll usually tape them in a few strategic places so I can glance at them while I'm recording. So yeah, I don't know if this would be interesting to you, but basically we have some dialogue and then kind of an outline point, healing lotion, hand massage, and then there's some more dialogue, and then it says clipboard questions, pen light, eyes, follow finger, healing balm on face, crystal healing, wand healing, aura smoothing, and energy pulling for sleep. So that's how I do that. And then anytime that I can incorporate a clipboard into my videos, there's usually notes on that too. Next question is, are you an artist in any other way? Mainly, did you learn to act as part of theater training that you use now? Do you paint or draw or write? So, a lot of you know that I'm currently pursuing a second degree in nursing. I'm currently in between programs with that right now. I'm on a little bit of a break. But my previous degree is in theater. So I do have a bachelor's degree in theater performance, where I studied mainly acting. I also did some directing, and I minored in creative writing. So I have some experience with everything from poetry to creative nonfiction to script writing. So those are all things that lend themselves to ASMR content creation very well, especially role plays, the acting, the directing, the script writing. And then do you paint or draw? I don't paint. I used to draw quite a bit. I used to blog a lot, and I loved incorporating these sort of bad stick figure drawings. I'm not a talented artist, visual artist by any means, but I really enjoyed doing this particular style of stick figure that I would incorporate into my blog posts, and I'll see if I can find a few of those to share with y'all. So those are my Patreon questions. I'm going to go over to YouTube now, and let's see, give you some typing sounds. I'm going to go ahead and try and answer these in the order I received them. So, do you have any projects you would like to realize before the end of this year, 2015? I do. I have a long running list of ideas for videos, and I add ideas to that list faster than I can make videos. So, that's always fun and challenging. I do have one collaboration in particular. Actually, a couple collaborations that I'm really hoping to get done before the end of this calendar year. I'm not going to say too much about them at this point, just because I don't like talking too much about projects until they're close to completion. But let's see, next question. Are you ever nervous of how your viewers will react to your videos? I imagine it's difficult putting out content for anonymous people to scrutinize. I get nervous about how y'all will react to my videos every single time I post a video. I think that's due to two things. One of them is that I, like most ASMR content creators, I don't trigger myself. So when I'm watching my videos as I'm editing them, I might have some really good feelings on how I feel about that video production-wise. But since I don't trigger myself, I don't know how effective it's going to be for y'all. So I get nervous about that. And then also, I have some videos where I'll sometimes include some personal stuff, whether it's an update video. I've had a couple update videos letting y'all know that I've needed to take a little time off from the channel, or I did a Draw My Life video a while back where I included some personal details from my life and stuff like that. I get a little nervous about, because it's one thing if people are critical about my roleplay videos, but if people are ever critical about the more personal details that I post, which doesn't really happen that often, but if people were to be critical about those, I think that would be a little harder to hear. But that's life when you put yourself on the internet. Unless I'm forgetting, I don't think you've revealed any of your musical interests. Who would you say is your favorite musical artist? Mine is Prince. What is your opinion on his music? Finally, you live in Antarctica, don't you? It's true. I live in Antarctica. The y'all has just been a very clever ruse. Let's see. So, working backwards, I like Prince a lot. I wouldn't say that I'm a huge fan. I'm certainly familiar with a lot of his more popular songs. Prince and I actually share a birthday, so I think that's pretty neat. As far as who my favorite musical artist is, that's really tough. I would say I went through a phase in life when music was especially important to me, and that was probably in my late teens, early 20s. And the artists that meant a lot to me then, I would say still mean the most to me now because of the effect they had on my life at that point. And a lot of those artists were more sort of expressive, strong female artists like Tori Amos and Ani DeFranco, Fiona Apple, Liz Phair, people like those. He's not in this category, but I know I also listened to a lot of Jeff Buckley around that time. I listened to a lot of Tool around that time. I don't know. Those are some of the people that I listened to a lot during that period of my life. So, let's see. Someone is asking if I can do an annual Fucks extraction checkup. For those of you who haven't seen it, I made a video a while back. That was kind of a cross of a humorous but also sincere fucks removal for people who give too many fucks. And I've had a lot of people asking me to remake that one. I wanted to wait until it was at least a year old before I do another version of that one and remake it. So I will probably do it at some point. I'm not sure when though. I have so many ideas for videos. I'm hesitant to take my precious recording time and use it remaking old videos. Also, as much as I love that video and I know people enjoy it, I don't necessarily want to become like that funny ASMR artist who says fuck a lot. I have no problem with cursing, but I don't want to make it like my thing. What or who inspired you to make ASMR videos? And do you ever feel silly when recording? I would giggle like a child if I had to perform an eye exam on camera. As far as who inspired me to make ASMR videos, it was just, I had been watching ASMR videos for 2 years before I started making them. So it would just be all the people I had been watching. And then I was also just kind of going through a really difficult time in my life, a big transition. At the time that I started making videos. So I guess I was going through a period where I was really trying to reconnect myself and engage in creative activities. So, yeah. And do you ever feel silly when recording? I did a little bit when I very first started. I actually practiced a bunch before I published my first video. I made a whole series of videos for, there was one person in particular who was kind enough to just let me personally send them some videos where I talked to them on camera. And it was just rambly stuff. And it really helped me to get comfortable talking to the camera that way. That was really helpful. So, like I said, it felt a little silly when I first started, but I mostly got that out of my system before I made anything that I published publicly. Do you think ASMR in general in the future can go beyond YouTube, internet, or on the contrary will stay as it is now? So I'm generally really, really bad at predicting trends. I remember the first time I ever saw a commercial for a camera phone. I think it was like a T-Mobile commercial way back when. I was like, that's stupid. Why does anyone need a camera on their cell phone? Just have a regular camera. I remember I thought it was silly and that it wouldn't go anywhere. Clearly I was wrong on that. And then when when the iPad was first coming out, I thought it was kind of silly and that it wasn't going to go anywhere. And I was wrong on that. There are definitely other examples of that. But having said that I'm really bad at predicting trends, I do think that ASMR as a genre will continue to grow and get more and more popular. And I think that it will naturally spread beyond YouTube. We're already starting to see it a little bit in audio-only formats, like on iTunes and Spotify and SoundCloud, and I think that'll probably continue. I'm pretty optimistic for the future of ASMR. I don't think it's a fad. I think that as people continue to discover it, and as more and more people have that moment that I think we all had, where it's like, oh, they, like that, there's a name for that feeling, and oh, they make videos for that. I think as more and more people discover that and connect with that, they'll join the greater ASMR audience, and there'll be more of a demand for it. So, let's see. What's your favorite amusement / theme park activity? I love roller coasters. I love roller coasters so much. And I always have like an immediate and intense sense of regret once I'm actually on the roller coaster. Like, I'll be waiting in line and I'll get so excited for it. And then, usually once it like gets up to that kind of really high point just before it brings you down really fast, I always have a moment where I'm like, why did I do this? This was a terrible idea. But then I have an amazing time and I usually get right back in line. What kind of superpower do you have? Or what superpower would you like to have? The superpower that I would most like to have, and I've thought this since I was a kid, it's kind of a weird superpower, but I always thought that it would be, I suppose, difficult in some ways, but I always thought that it would be awesome to have kind of perfect empathy, where you could maybe touch a person and feel exactly what they're feeling. I've always thought that would be incredibly helpful in a medical setting, especially with people who have difficulty communicating for some reason. Maybe it's a young child who isn't really verbal yet, or someone who's unconscious, or someone who, speaks a language that no one who's working there knows. I always thought it'd be really cool to be able to touch someone, to feel exactly what they're feeling, and be trained enough to be able to say, like, oh, they, are experiencing these symptoms, or they have pain here, or this is what's happening. I'm curious if there's a story behind the key ring that you wear. Okay, so I've had a few people comment on this ring. So I have 2 rings. I'm going to tell you the story of both of these rings. This one right here actually does not have a story. Not really. Not a true story. People ask it all the time. And a while back, I actually, after so many people had asked me what the story was about it, I had asked a bunch of my friends to help me make up stories for it that I could just tell people. And one of my friends gave me this really great story that I kind of expanded on. And I don't even remember the full thing anymore, but it had to do with, people would ask me what the story was, and I would tell them this really involved tale about how I had an aunt who went to South America. We found out later that she was like a government spy, and that she died down there, and that when they returned her body to the U.S., they wouldn't return any of her clothing or her things, but when an autopsy was done, they found this ring inside her body. It was this really involved, morbid, crazy story that I just loved. So for a while, I would tell people that story, and then when they would be like, really? I would go, no, I just made that up. But yeah, that's actually a small hobby of mine, is making up stories, because people ask, and I feel bad that I don't have a good story behind it. And then this ring right here, let me turn around a little bit so you can see the stone. So I have an older sister, and when both my sister and I were born, my father had rings made for each of us. When my older sister was born, he had a ring made for her, a gold ring, and when I was born, he had a ring made for me. Both of our rings have our birthstone and our names engraved on it, and he wore those rings on a necklace around his neck my whole life growing up until I was older. And then I think when I was probably in my early 20s, at one point he gave the ring to me, and I wear it now. I never take it off. So, let's see. What are your favorite triggers, and have they changed? I would say that my favorite triggers haven't really changed. My favorite triggers have kind of always been role plays, personal attention, and face touching, and light triggers, and healing type videos. I love medical role plays for that reason. And so those haven't really changed as my favorites, but I would say that in general, triggers that I enjoy have definitely changed. Especially over time, there will be things that I didn't think I was that triggered by that, will eventually trigger me. I'm trying to think of a good example. Like, for a long time, wasn't necessarily a big fan of tapping videos. And then I started really enjoying tapping videos. So a lot of times I will see videos that I will kind of write off as, oh, that's not something I'm into. And then maybe if I can't find anything else, I'll give it a try, and I'll be like, oh, as it turns out, this is something I'm into. So, what's your favorite ASMR video of all time? Let's see. Well, Nicole, my favorite ASMR video of all time. That's really hard. I do keep a playlist of some of my favorites. If I had to pick one. So hard. Probably the one that I keep coming back to over and over and over again is a video by Lauren Ostrowski-Fenton. And I'm trying to remember. Let me see if I can look it up. My favorites. So this video is called ASMR 3D Healing Relaxation Roleplay with Touch, Softly Spoken by Lauren Ostrowski-Fenton. And there's just something about it. She's one of my very favorite ASMR content creators, and she has been for a really long time. She's the first artist that I ever supported on Patreon because I love her so much. And this particular video it's just perfect for me. There's a lot of healing and face touching. It's a great role play, and it's just one of the few videos that never gets old for me. When I can't find anything else that works for me. If I'm going through my subscriptions and none of the new videos are helping me fall asleep, I'll go back to this one. It helps me out. There are also a few other videos that kind of fall into that category, but that's number one. There are a lot of Queen of Serene videos that are very similar for me. If any of you aren't familiar with her, go look up Queen of Serene, because she's not really active currently, but it doesn't matter, because the videos she did make when she was active are amazing, and they don't get old. What is your hair skincare routine? So, I don't really have much of a routine for my hair and skincare, especially being a mom and being really busy. I have difficulty caring for myself in that sense on a routine basis. I usually do stuff when I can sneak it in. Honestly, I do very little in the morning aside from brushing my teeth. If I'm going to be leaving the house, I might slap some, I'll use like a BB or a CC cream with a little SPF in it just to even out my skin a little bit and protect me from the sun. If I'm going to be spending a lot of time outside, I try to wear a hat to protect my skin from the sun, because I don't know if you all can see it. You probably can. I have a ton of skin damage on my face because I tanned a lot when I was younger, and was fun at the time, but it really wreaked havoc on my skin. I wish I hadn't. So I try to be good to my skin now. I don't have a lot of time for it. Pretty much the only things I do regularly are I wash my face at the end of the day, but nothing too involved. I use like Cetaphil usually, or if I have a lot of makeup on my face, I'll use a makeup wipe. So I wash my face. I use a cleanser. If my skin is feeling dry, I put some lotion on there. And let's see what else. I wax, because I am a hairy woman. So I wax. I pluck my brows. What else? Here's a fun fact. I have 2 chin hairs right here that I got after my son was born, because hormones are crazy. So I pluck those. But other than that, I don't do that much to my face. I have a Birchbox subscription, so I'll play around with products. I love playing with products, but when I use products, it's usually more of a pampering thing, like maybe once a week or so I'll give my skin some special attention, but it's more like a special session, it's not something I do every day. And then for my hair, currently I use Head and Shoulders, because once again, after I had a child, I started having problems with dry scalp, so that was an issue, and Head and Shoulders works for me. And so I wash my hair, I brush it. The vast majority of my waking moments, my hair is up in like a messy bun up here. I don't style it very often, which is actually probably pretty good for it. Let's see. Let's see, my question is to do with the way that ASMR may or may or not develop in the future. What do you think about it? I think I talked about that a little bit. Do you think there'll be any advancements, or if this is something that will gain momentum as the years go on? If it'll eventually outgrow the YouTube platform. Okay, so I think I already touched on that a little bit. I think it'll grow. I am not a huge innovator. I think I'm creative, but technologically anyway, I wouldn't say I'm a huge innovator. So I think that it will grow beyond YouTube, absolutely. I don't think I have a really good mind for predicting what that'll look like, though. There are some really amazing innovators in the ASMR community, especially Allie from ASMR Requests. I know that subscription-wise, she's one of the top ASMR content creators, so most of you are probably familiar with her. But if you're not, go check her out. ASMR Requests. I know that she has been very active in exploring things like virtual reality and things like that, which are really neat. So, let's see. Show us your tattoos. Here are my tattoos. I have a lot of tattoos. People ask me all the time to do a tattoo show and tell video, and I have a really old video, like really old, probably about a year old, where I show some of my tattoos and I talk about them. I do at some point want to do a newer, better quality video about my tattoos, but the thing is that I have them all over my body. I have a lot of tattoos, not that many on my legs, but like basically I've had a hard time deciding which ones I would include in the video, how I would show them, because I would want to do it in a way that I'm comfortable with. And to be very clear, I have no problem, if another ASMR artist wants to dance around on camera, wearing nothing, that's absolutely fine with me. I'm not criticizing that. I just personally know I would only be comfortable showing so much of my body on camera, so it would be a little challenging for me to show you all that stuff. So I've just been kind of putting that off while I figure that out. So, let's see. Why do men have nipples? What's your take on this? One moment. So I'm really glad you asked, and I said that I didn't want to talk about sensitive subjects too much in this video, so I hope this doesn't upset anyone. But for those of you who don't know, years and years and years and years ago, prehistorically, basically, the nipple fairies, who are, obviously in charge of going around and poop, making sure that all, gestational children develop nipples, originally only put them on females. But I don't want to act like I'm anti-union, because that's not the case at all. But the nipple fairy union kind of got really out of hand at one point, and there were some issues with job availability and stuff like that. So there was a big strike that happened. I'll tell you all more about it someday if I have time. But basically, there was this big strike. There was a lot of drama, and ultimately, one of the agreements that was made was that the union was able to secure it so that all the nipple fairies didn't just put nipples on female babies in uterus, they put them on the males as well. So that was, for better or for worse, you can thank unions for that. As far as I know, all the men I've known have been perfectly happy with their nipples. It can be an enjoyable thing to have. Alright, I'm going to stop now. How come you're so awesome, JB? So why am I so awesome? Okay, I'll go ahead and I'll tell all of you. I know a lot of you are really big fans of my energy pulling, and I feel a little bad because you all will be like, oh, that's so relaxing, that's so tingly, do more of that. But to be perfectly honest, what I'm doing when I'm reaching in and pulling out that energy, I'm not pulling out your negative energy, I'm actually pulling out your awesomeness, and then I'm feeding on it. So, I'm basically an awesomeness vampire, and I have been sucking out the awesomeness from all of my viewers. I'm not even going to pretend I'm sorry about it. Have you ever thought about moving to another country? I've thought about it in a that would be cool kind of way. I've never thought about it seriously. Ultimately, for all of our issues that pop up, I certainly think the United States is very far from a perfect country. I think we have a lot of issues, and sometimes it seems like we're making amazing progress, and then sometimes it seems like we're, frighteningly backwards in some ways. But ultimately, I really love living in the United States. I love this country. I'm proud to live here. I'm really grateful for the opportunities that I've had. There's certainly countries that have it better in some ways, but I also stop sometimes and I realize that I am a woman who went through a long period of my life where I was a single mom, and I was supported by my government during that time when, in another country I might have been on the street. I am working on my second degree. I have an education. There are countries where women aren't educated. In a lot of ways, I've enjoyed a lot of phenomenal privileges that I'm very aware of. And also, just, this is a beautiful country. I love doing road trips, and I love that this is a big, beautiful country that you can drive from one end to the other, and it can look like you're driving through different worlds because the landscapes are so different. And yeah, I like it here. If I had some sort of really amazing opportunity, I would definitely consider moving to another country, but probably not permanently. Let's see. my question. ASMR has grown so incredibly quick over the last few years. Where do you see ASMR in, let's say, another 2 years? So I kind of already covered that. I'm not sure. I'm bad at predicting trends. I just think it'll continue to grow. And I think it'll be generally for the better, a little bit for the worse. And I think that happens with any art form, where as they grow, there's good parts to that and bad parts to that. But I think it'll keep growing. That's the bottom line. Okay. So I had skimmed these, and I saw this one before, and okay. So here's the question. It says, so you seem like a really busy person with a ton of responsibilities, and yet you also seem really cheerful and energetic, and there's definitely a natural calmness to you too. So I'm guessing you have acquired some pretty awesome organizational skills to get everything done that you want to. Do you have any advice for people trying to be a little more organized and productive in their life while still staying sane and relatively happy? So I was appalled when I read this question because I felt guilty at first. I was like, oh my goodness, I've misrepresented myself horribly on YouTube, because that's not how I see myself at all. And I shared this with some friends, and someone who knows me very well saw this and said, yeah, that's pretty accurate. That's you. And that further blew my mind because, a viewer saw me this way, and someone I know pretty well saw me this way. I see myself as someone who is a mess, who's disorganized, whose to-do list grows faster than I get things done. I see myself as someone who gets sick too often and complains too much. And this question was kind of a wake-up call, because it was, the bottom line is that the truth lies somewhere in the middle. I'm really hard on myself, and I don't think that the truth is, where I'm being really down on myself. I also don't think that the truth is this kind of really positive view that some other people have of me. So it was a really interesting lesson in the difference between how we see ourselves and how others see us, and where reality lies between that. And I know that personally I have a problem with always adding more to my plate than I can handle. Generally, however much I'm able to handle schedule-wise, I always put a little bit more on there. So I'm kind of self-defeating in that sense, where if I start to be on top of things, I just add more stuff, and I never get to all of it. So this might not resonate with everyone, but it might resonate with a few people. As far as advice for being more organized and productive while still staying sane and happy, my advice would not be really about actually being more productive. Although I find that to-do lists, I make to-do lists, I write stuff on the back of my hand, I put to-do lists on my phone, I put them everywhere. I find to-do lists very helpful. Also, I find done lists very helpful, because to-do lists can be intimidating because you see all the stuff you have to get done. Every once in a while, I'll do a done list, and I'll just keep an empty list, and as I get stuff done, I'll put stuff on there. And that can be a lot more affirming and positive as you see that list grow. But generally, my advice for staying sane and happy while trying to be more productive would be to maybe look at yourself a little bit differently. Maybe you're being more productive than you realize. Maybe you're getting more done than you realized. Maybe where you're at is okay. Maybe you're doing a pretty good job and you're being too hard on yourself. So I would say, like I said, for the person who asked this question, I don't know what your exact situation is. But I would say to first step back and ask yourself how much of your frustration with not getting stuff done has to do with you being too hard on yourself. I might be totally missing the mark on that one, but it's a thought. It was relevant for me. Have you ever thought about visiting Wales? Wales, as in the UK, not as in, like, swimming in the ocean and visiting blue whales. So, not really specifically. I guess now I'm thinking about it at this exact moment. I would love to visit the UK. I would love to visit it. So, generally, I have thought about visiting that part of the country. I don't know when that will be a possibility for me, but I would love to. Let's see. The only important question in the world is to ask, of course, what is your favorite candy bar? That's a toughie because I like candy bars. If I had to boil it down to one, if someone right now were like, I can make any candy bar appear for you at this exact moment, it would probably be a Cadbury fruit and nut bar. I'm a really big fan of Snickers bars. That's usually my go-to. I feel like that's a little boring though because I know those are really popular. But ultimately, Cadbury fruit and nut. A big fan. Would you rather get hit with a tranquilizer dart or a taser? What's the worst injury you've had? The first one's pretty easy. Would I rather get hit with a tranquilizer dart or a taser? I have multiple moments a day where I wish someone would shoot me with a tranquilizer dart because then I could just take a nap and have an excuse for it. I'm pretty busy, and I know this is a ridiculous mentality, but I feel like if I were in the middle of my busy day and someone just shot me with a tranquilizer dart, then I could sleep for a few hours. Let someone else take over for a little while. That's a guilt-free nap right there. What's the worst injury you've had? So this isn't necessarily the worst injury in that it was the most dramatic, but about a year and a half ago I was in a car accident. I was just driving through a parking lot and I was in a very small car and there was a very large SUV parked in front of a liquor store, and as I passed, they weren't even backing out, they were driving forward, so I don't know how they didn't see me, but I guess they were really excited to bring their liquor home, but as I was driving by, they just pulled out really hard and fast, and they just smashed into my car really, really hard, and I had to go to the hospital, and my car was totaled, and so I hurt my back, and that's probably been my worst injury. Like I said, I think that was about a year and a half ago now. And that's been my worst injury just because it's been really persistent. I was in treatment on and off for a couple months where I was medicated. I was going to physical therapy. And around that same time, I was, a single mom, living alone, just me and my son, so I'm trying to take care of a child, a really young child during all of this. And I was really, really strapped for cash. I didn't have health insurance at the time, so the medical bills were piling up for all of this. And the insurance company, the situation with the insurance company, I kind of felt like I had to settle on the claim earlier than I should have because I was so broke and the medical bills were ridiculous. And the other party was obviously at fault, and it just got to the point where I was like, okay, I'm just going to stop treatment. Just, let's settle on this claim so I can pay off these bills. And they gave me a little extra for pain and suffering, which just, went towards other bills pretty much. So I settled on that probably earlier than I should have, but I felt like I didn't have any choice. And the back injury has been really persistent. For those of you who aren't familiar with how insurance works, basically once you settle, there's nothing else you can do. There have been a few times since then where I've re-aggravated the back injury, and it's moderately debilitating. So for those of you who have kids, small children, you know that you're constantly bending over all day long. I try to be smart about the way I bend over, bend at the knees, not at the waist, and, engage your abdominal muscles, all those things. But all day long, I'm picking up my son, helping him pick up his toys, just stuff around the house, like loading and unloading the dishwasher, taking clothes out of the clothes dryer. There's so many things in my daily life that have to do with engaging my back. And I'm usually really good about doing that in a smart way, but it just takes one time doing it the wrong way. And I can screw up my back, and then I'm in pain for days to weeks. I can't take any medication for it because I'm really sensitive to medication, and I can't comfortably parent when I'm medicated, so I just kind of have to deal with it, which stinks. So it's not like this huge dramatic injury, but it's a reasonably significant injury, and it's one that won't go away, so that stinks. But are you into video games? If so, what's your favorite game to play? I am into video games, although I don't play them nearly as much as I used to. Sorry, my chair is creaking. I do enjoy video games. I would say that my favorite types of video games are usually kind of role-playing game type video games. I went through a couple different phases where I was younger, where I played EverQuest a lot. I also like sort of turn-based games like the Civilization games. I was really into Civilization Revolutions for a while. Just at this point in my life, it seems like I don't have time for anything. So, and I'm the type of person who I don't play video games for just a half hour or an hour. I play for hours and hours and hours. So I just, it's not a priority for me right now. But I would say that if I did have endless time to play video games, I would get back to the Elder Scrolls series. When I was trying to play EverQuest less, I was, struggling with borderline addiction to EverQuest. And I started playing Morrowind as kind of a methadone to EverQuest, and I loved that. And then what came after that, I think it was it Oblivion and then Skyrim, or was it the other way around? But anyway, I love this series of games. Hey JB, just want to say that I love your content. Thank you. What made you want to start creating ASMR content? And what was your first ASMR experience? So I've already talked a little bit about what made me want to start creating ASMR content. I would say my earliest memories of ASMR would be when I was a little kid. So when I was really little, my sister and I would pretend to give each other like physical exams and stuff like that. We would play doctor with each other, not in the naughty way, but we would pretend to give each other physical exams, and we would experience ASMR that way. So actually, I've been doing ASMR medical roleplays since I was a small child, you could say. If you could visit any country, where would you go? That's a really tough call, because if I'm being completely honest, I don't think this quite counts as a country, but I would love to go to the UK. That's probably where I actually most want to go, But if I had the opportunity to go to any country in the whole world, that would feel a little bit like not the best choice, because I don't know, it feels a little bit like cheating, because living in the US, the UK is, as far as countries in the world go, the UK is relatively cheap and easy to get to. And I guess if a genie came down and said, you can have a vacation package to any country in the world, I would want to go somewhere that was harder to get to or more expensive. So I don't know, that's a tough call. I would love to go to Australia and or New Zealand. I was really obsessed with Australia when I was a little kid. I was obsessed with kangaroos. I wanted a pet kangaroo. So. Do you get tingles from watching your own videos? Nope. Sometimes if I'm editing, I might get tingles from parts where I'm not talking. Like if I'm editing and listening and maybe I'm looking at something else, and in the video I'm doing tapping or something like that. That might trigger me a little bit, but generally, no. Have you ever considered more interactive ASMR type videos with dual purpose, as things like guided self-head sinus and other massage, or perhaps other medical related ones? So I think I know what you're talking about. Videos where I'm maybe sort of guiding you to perform like massage on yourself or something like that. Maybe, except that stuff like that, I prefer to keep the medical stuff more imaginative, because I'm not enough of an expert in that field to instruct y'all on that. And as far as sinus massage and things like that go, I might do something like that if I learned more about it. But at this point, I generally try to be very careful about not giving anything that could be construed as actual medical advice, unless I actually really know what I'm talking about, which I usually don't. What made you choose your username? Do you love jelly beans that much? I don't love jelly beans that much. There is a book called Even Cowgirls Get the Blues by Tom Robbins that I read for the first time when I think I was, probably 19, which was a while ago. So I read Even Cowgirls Get the Blues, and there's a character named Bonanza Jelly Bean in it, and it's been a long time since I read that book, but I remember there was something in that book about how Bonanza Jelly Bean, as a small child, always wanted to be a cowgirl, but everyone told her that cowboys and cowgirls don't really exist anymore. That's not a really legitimate profession to choose. But she didn't listen to any of them, and she became a cowgirl anyway. And at the time, I found that really inspiring. And I thought to myself from then on that if I ever had an opportunity to use a pseudonym, I would want it to be Jelly Bean. And there was some years later when I was involved in a project for a while where I did use that pseudonym. And that project ended, and then once again, years and years later, when I started up my ASMR channel, I decided to use that pseudonym because I didn't want to use my real name, and I thought at the time that Jelly Bean would be unique enough that no one else would have anything like that. But then it turned out very shortly after that there's another YouTuber who has a really similar name. She didn't have an ASMR channel when I started mine, although she did have another really popular channel that, I didn't know about. But, so there is currently another Jelly Bean ASMR, and she's wonderful. She's really talented, and I know she has a really large viewership. But, it is a little awkward sometimes because people are like, are you two related? What's up with you two having the same name? And it's just a really, really weird coincidence. thought I was being so careful when I started my channel. I really carefully checked YouTube, and I was like, alright, let's make sure no one else has this name. And they didn't at the time, but then that changed, and life goes on. Do you have any pets? And do you ever get recognized in real life from your ASMR videos? I do kind of have some pets. So I live in a house with my son, my partner, and 2 roommates. And my partner has a cat and a dog, and one of my roommates has 2 cats. So I live with a bunch of pets. They're not personally mine that I brought into the house. They're all great animals. I love animals. If I have ever been recognized in real life, the person or people who recognized me did not make me aware of it, so I've never been approached or anything like that. I would imagine I probably haven't. I don't get out a lot. I occasionally go out and go to events and stuff like that, but most of my life is at home or, my mom. I kind of drive back and forth between my house and grocery shopping and the playground and stuff like that. So if anyone has recognized me, they haven't told me. I'd like to ask, what's your sign and what it is that you do for a living? I'm a Gemini, and for a living, I make a little money off of this YouTube channel, primarily through my Patreon account, because I removed all the commercials from this channel. I had been making a pretty decent income off of the commercials, but for my own reasons, I didn't feel good about having them, so I removed them. I still have the little overlay ads at the bottom because they're silent, but I currently make about 10% off of ad revenue what I had been making when there were those awful loud commercials, but that's fine. I feel good about that. So I make a little bit of money off my Patreon account, and then I work from home. I'm not going to say what company I work for, but I do a work from home type deal. I've been doing it for over a year now, where I do stuff on the internet all night. I don't think I can tell you more than that, but let's see. Do you think ASMR will ever become offered in salons and spas? If so, do you think the tingles will be better or worse than from videos on YouTube? It might be. I do think ASMR is going to continue to grow as a genre of art. So I think it makes sense that it might eventually begin to be offered in salons and spas. I would check that out. I know that part of me really likes experiencing it from video style and being able to experience it in the privacy of my own home. There's something kind of really quiet and private and intimate about that. But yeah, if I knew about it being offered in a spa, I would be one of the first people to check it out. What is your favorite unpopular opinion when it comes to pop culture stuff? So, an example would be that, I think Star Wars is the most overrated franchise in film history. So, as far as unpopular opinions I have about pop culture stuff, that would probably be, I don't like the X-Men as I don't like the X-Men as much as I feel like I'm supposed to. I have so many friends who are into geek culture who love the X-Men, and I really enjoy the individual characters a lot, but as a general story and as a cohesive whole, I've just never been able to get into it. I'm a casual comic book fan, but I tend to be into more, I don't know if narrative is the right word for it. Like the stuff that I like is more along the lines of Preacher, Transmetropolitan, Sandman, Saga, Bone. I really like Hellboy, Alias, Strangers in Paradise. So I like a lot of that stuff. I've tried a few times reading the X-Men comics. They do nothing for me. And then the movies, once again, like I like a lot of the characters and I like a lot of the actor portrayals of the characters, but the stories, I just don't like that much. I keep trying, I just don't like the X-Men that much. I'm sorry. How did you come up with the name for your ASMR channel? We did that. Okay. Richard B. has asked a bunch of questions. I'm just gonna pick one. So, would you rather go 3 days with no food except water, or go without your phone for 3 weeks? Honestly, no contest. I would rather go for 3 days with no food than go for 3 weeks without my phone. I think that's just kind of a fact of our culture that we use our phones for so much, especially as a parent. I can't imagine without being without my phone. Like I want to have it in case there's an emergency. If my son, my son is with his father for a couple days a week, and I love getting updates via my phone for that. I'm sure I could keep going and going. I check in on my YouTube comments all the time on my phone. That would just be a huge, huge part of my life cut out. I'm sure in a lot of ways it would be really wonderful and liberating too, but I'd probably choose no food. How has film and or literature affected you? I'm not sure if you mean in general in my life or in my channel, but I guess film and literature have both affected me hugely. I haven't had a lot of time for reading the past few years, but for most of my life since I learned to read, I've been a huge reader. I love reading, and I've been a really big movie fan too. Film has kind of become an important part of my life because when I do get out of the house or when I do go to events where I live, it's usually film oriented, like going to see a screening of a movie or just a regularly released movie or something like that. I think that would be a whole video on its own explaining how they've affected me. But just they're an escape. They are fuel for my imagination. They teach me things. And love of film and literature have helped me connect with a lot of people. So I was wondering, are there any YouTube channels that you watch that people might be surprised by? Anyone would be surprised by? I subscribe to over 100 YouTube channels, and the vast majority of them are ASMR channels. Let me look at my subscription list. I don't know if any of the channels I like, there may be a handful of channels I follow that aren't ASMR. I don't know if any of them would be that surprising. I follow one channel. Where is it? Okay. So I follow one channel, Carlin Ross, that I guess some people might be surprised by. And it is a channel. All the videos is just like a chat channel, and it features Carlin Ross and Betty Dodson, Dr. Betty Dodson. And it's basically just women's sexuality channel where they just chat about sex. So I think for most people these days it wouldn't be that shocking that that's something I follow and find interesting, but I think that's the closest thing to something that might be shocking for some people. It's just sex. It's not that shocking. Let's see. Are you into gaming, and have you considered doing gaming videos? So I have mentioned that I'm into gaming. I briefly considered doing gaming videos because it seemed like that would be a good excuse to make time for gaming, if I made some sort of creative project out of it. But I don't know if that would work for me, for a couple reasons. One is because I think if I was recording gaming videos and focusing on providing interesting commentary to it, that would defeat the purpose for me, because when I am gaming, it's definitely a big escape for me. It's a chance to kind of get away. So I think if I made it into a project, that might hinder the enjoyment for me a little bit. And also, I think the way that I play video games might not be interesting for a lot of people. Like, say, if there's a game where they claim that there's like 300 hours of gameplay, I guarantee you I could get 500 hours of gameplay out of that game. When I play a game, I tend to explore every nook and cranny, talk to every character on screen, look under every liftable object, harvest every plant, do every tiny obscure side quest. I really, really, really kind of milk every game that I play. And I know for a lot of people that's not interesting. They just kind of want you to get to the main quest and get through it. So, yeah, I'm not 100% opposed to the idea, but I think it's probably something I wouldn't do. Have you ever watched Doctor Who before? I have. I'm not a huge fan. I like it a lot. I'm not quite as into it as most of the people I know who are really into Doctor Who. And I haven't watched a ton of it. The majority of what I've watched has been the Matt Smith version of the Doctor, and I like that a lot. It's just something that, once again, not to sound like a broken record or like I'm complaining, I just don't have a lot of free time. So if I am going to invest my time in a TV show, it needs to be a TV show that I don't just like. It needs to be a TV show that I really, really love. So my TV time is usually devoted more to, what have I been watching lately? I've been watching The Wire lately, which I hadn't seen before. I love Game of Thrones. I was really into Breaking Bad when it was on. I need to really, really be into a show to follow it regularly. Can you make a softly spoken Shelter from the Rain type ASMR video? Maybe. It's more of a request. For the record, I'm always open to requests. I can't promise that I will make any of them, but I will definitely consider them. 3 reasons why you should come to New Zealand. From Beachlands OG. Well, one reason, I guess, would be obviously to give you a high five. Also, I know one of my most awesome viewers, Melanie Ray, lives in New Zealand. I would love to also give Melanie Ray a high five and a hug. And then I guess the third reason would be that I'm a really big Lord of the Rings fan, and I would love to see the place where that was filmed. Where did you grow up and where are you from originally? I don't like to get into too much detail about that, but I will go as far to say that I grew up in the northeast part of the United States. And now I live in the southern part. Let's see. This person asked a few questions. I'm just going to pick one. Dunkin' or Starbucks? So for those of you who... I'm pretty sure you're all familiar with Starbucks. Dunkin' Donuts is another coffee chain, and they have donuts as well. And I'm not sure if they're around outside the U.S., and even in the U.S., they're only in certain places. But that's a really tough choice, because I worked at Starbucks for a while when I was younger, and I liked it. I do enjoy Starbucks drinks. And then Dunkin' Donuts. I guess I'd probably ultimately choose Dunkin' Donuts just because growing up in the Northeast, there are a lot of Dunkin' Donuts. They're everywhere. Like, in some parts of the world, people make fun of how there are Starbucks everywhere. Where I grew up, there were Dunkin' Donuts everywhere. So I like Dunkin' Donuts, and then on top of it, I have a really strong sort of childhood connection to that business. Which new technologies would you like to explore regarding ASMR? I don't know. I mean, like I've said earlier in this video, I'm not personally a huge technological innovator. I'm pretty happy with the level of technology that I'm at right now. I like my microphone, my camera's fine, my editing skills are okay. I know that there are artists who are more into exploring that kind of stuff. At this point in my ASMR career, I'm more interested in just creating quality videos with the technology that I'm already using. I'm sorry if that's not a very exciting answer, but it's true. Where did you find Mr. Perfect? I'm guessing you're asking about my partner? I know I don't talk a lot about my personal life on here, but I am very lucky to have an amazing partner who is extremely kind and thoughtful and supportive and generous and really hardworking. And yeah, I'm not going to go into that too much, but yeah, I've been very, very lucky to find this person who's in my life, and I met him at a film event. It just so happened that the person who was planning the event sat us next to each other, and this was a good couple years before we actually started dating, but that's how we met, and he was a really, really nice guy, so we stayed in touch, and then much, much later, when it became a much better time for it, we started dating, and everything's been awesome since then. So let's see. Next person asked a bunch of questions, a lot of questions, so I'm just gonna pick one. What if Joseph asked, "Are you following your bliss?" Okay. So this viewer is referring to Joseph Campbell, and I have a tattoo that says "Follow your bliss," and that is from Joseph Campbell was a comparative mythologist and just a brilliant, brilliant mind. I've read some of his work, and I think he's amazing and inspiring, and a philosophy that he's known for is follow your bliss. Am I following my bliss? I would say yes. Probably not as well as I could. I would say that's probably a lifelong project. Always trying to better follow my bliss. What are your favorite ASMR channels? Oh, that changes all the time. I have a lot. I mentioned earlier Lorna Streske-Fenton, Queen of Serene. I'm a really big fan of, I find Heather Feather hugely inspiring as an artist and just as a personality. Let's see. Sorry, I'm just looking in my watch history here. Let's see. Whispers Red ASMR is amazing. In addition to being an incredible artist, she's been kind enough to respond to some private messages I've sent her over time. Very supportive. Who else? I follow so many people. I know I shouldn't even try to say my favorites because I'm gonna miss a bunch. Who else? I love Laura Limericks. I love Cute Bunny 992. Who else do I watch a lot? Ariel ASMR, who is like the face touching queen. I watched Gentle Whispering. She's, I think, 100% deserving of her popularity. She's just wonderful, wonderful. Olivia Kisper, I'm a huge fan of. Alright, I'm going to stop now because I'll just keep going and going. Those are some of my favorites. Okay, so the next question starts off, if I recall correctly, you mentioned that you were a nurse. So I'm not a nurse. That's really important to note. I have been working toward becoming a nurse. So I recently completed all my pre-nursing requisites, like anatomy, biology, microbiology, just a ton of courses for making me eligible for the nursing program that I want to join. And for a variety of reasons, which I'll share with you all at a later time, I'm having to take a little bit of a break before I actually start the nursing program. But within the next probably year and a half, 2 years, I should be actually starting nursing school, and then I will be a nurse. So, let's see. My question is, what does the tattoo on your wrist say? So this tattoo on my wrist says, "You are what you love, not what loves you." And that is a quote from the movie Adaptation, and which is a great movie. I love it a lot. And the scene that's from is a great scene. And the short version of what that means to me is that it's important to focus on doing what you love because you love doing it, and for the joy you get out of that, and not to worry so much about other people's approval or other people's feedback or getting rewards or recognition for doing those things. Just do what you love and let that be your reward. What was your childhood dream? My earliest childhood dream that I can remember is when I was a kid, people had asked me what I wanted to do when I grew up, and I said I wanted to be a lady who went to the park and gave out free lollipops. So I think people might frown on a strange woman doing that now, but it's interesting because I feel like finally with this channel, I've kind of achieved that intent a little bit. You know, the idea when I was a small child, I think, was that I wanted to go somewhere and give something away for free that delighted people and made them happy. So, you know, a little while back, I actually realized that that's kind of what I'm doing with this channel. I'm making things and making them available for you, and hopefully they delight you and make you happy. Who are your favorite Lord of the Rings characters and why? I don't know if I have a single favorite Lord of the Rings character. I guess if I had to pick one, it might be Sam. I love Sam. He's so loyal, and I think much, much stronger than people think. I guess I also have a lot of affection for, like, kind of a weird affection for Gollum in his story, just as being kind of a tragic character. Let's see. Are you a fan of Harry Potter? Kind of. I'm not a huge Harry Potter fan. I remember being my first year at college when I was, 18. I was having a lot of insomnia, and I kind of blew through the first few books. My first month at college, there was a week and a half period where I read the first 3 or 4 books, right in a row. And so they all kind of bleed together in my mind. But I enjoyed them, and I've enjoyed all the movies, so I can't say I'm a big enough fan that I can really be like, oh, I love this character, they're my favorite, but I definitely enjoy them. Where I'm from, I kind of touched on that already. Earliest childhood memory of getting ASMR, I touched on that. What type of camera and microphone would you recommend to someone with a tight budget? I would definitely say that if if you mean like in the context of making ASMR videos, I would say that worry, if you can only invest a little bit of money in one or the other, worry more about the microphone. I think that sound quality is more important to invest in than video quality. I've seen lots of people make really great effective videos on, with their camera phones. So I'd say even if the video quality isn't that great, if you can spend a little extra to get good sound quality. My very first microphone was my Zoom H1. Let's see if I can lift it up without making a horrible noise. So my Zoom H1, it is both a recorder and a microphone. It can be used as a USB microphone. So that was perfect for me as a starter. And usually what I recommend, I think it cost like $99, which was a huge investment for me when I started my channel, but it was very much worth it. So I used that as a microphone, and then it was a great investment because once I switched to a different microphone, which is the this guy right here. Let's see if I can lift it up. So once I switched to my 3DO, which requires a recorder, I was still able to use my Zoom for that. When did you find out that you can trigger people? I mean, pretty much when I posted my first video a year ago. I didn't know if I was going to be effective or not. So that was a good surprise to find out that people liked them. Are you going to do any more light videos? I'm sure I will. Are you single and ready to mingle? I'm not single. And as someone with a lot of social anxiety, I can't really say I'm ready to mingle either. I'm attached. I'm in a relationship, and I'm ready to sit in bed and watch HBO Go. A lot of people in this community say that the discovery of ASMR has changed their lives in so many ways. For me, it is because I am able to place a name to the sensation I felt on my life, but can never really explain it. How has ASMR changed your life, and in what way? As a viewer, ASMR has changed my life in a huge way because it has helped me to find peace and relax and find comfort. I guess that's probably the key word. ASMR videos have helped me to find a lot of comfort in situations where I really needed it. And then it's also obviously changed my life hugely as a content creator. It's a passion project. It's a creative project that I love and that's really gratifying. And people send me these amazing comments saying that they like my videos and that my videos help them, and that means so much to me. It means a lot to me. And also, I would like to add that the Krusty Krab pizza is the pizza for you and me. What are some of your personal favorite triggers? I covered that a little bit already. Lights, role plays, face touching, how to keep your teeth so white. Camera tricks and lighting, I guess, and the right lipstick color. My teeth aren't, if you saw me in real life and looked close, my teeth aren't actually that white. I think I also just have really big teeth, so that maybe makes them look whiter than they actually are. But, I brush them 2 to 3 times a day. I occasionally use, like, whitening strips, but that's maybe once every couple of years. I might use them for a few days. Can you make some videos outdoors, like around a campfire? Maybe. So I live in a relatively quiet part of town. I live in a city, but I live in a relatively quiet area, but I still live on a street that is busy enough that I think filming outside might be a challenge, because even in the wee hours, people are still going to drive by occasionally. But I like that idea. I mean, I know people who probably live in even quieter areas. I could make this an excuse to take some sort of overnight vacation somewhere quiet. I like the idea of using a campfire or something. But I think if I were going to do that, it would probably be more of a role play with special effects, where I'd get like the sound effects of a campfire or something. I don't know, we'll see. I'll add it to my request list and consider it. When are you doing another Periscope session? Okay, so I did a Periscope session a while back. For those of you who aren't familiar, it's basically like a live streaming app. It's really cool. I did one of them. I would definitely like to do more. My phone is in really rough shape. And it has a forward-facing camera and then the back camera, and the back camera, which is the more high-quality one, is kind of busted up. It doesn't really work that well. I am going to be getting a new phone fairly soon. It's my partner is getting a new phone, so I'm getting his old phone, which is actually a really nice phone. So basically, once I get my new phone, which has a much better camera, I'm going to start thinking about doing Periscope again, because it'll have a working camera. What's the one question you're hoping someone will ask that hasn't been asked yet? Honestly, I didn't have any specific questions in mind that I was hoping anyone would ask. I was just hoping that people would ask questions. I was a little nervous that no one would. That would be kind of embarrassing. But no, you all really came through for me. There are a lot of really thoughtful, interesting questions here. So I don't have anything for you. Some ASMR artists choose not to show their face on camera. Did you ever think of hiding your face in your videos? I'm sure I thought about it, but only briefly, or I decided against it. I know that there are a lot of reasons. There's so many different levels of privacy that one can attempt when making YouTube videos. Like, obviously, I try to protect my privacy by not talking too much about my personal life, or not talking about where I live, or not sharing my real name, things like that. And I know this is the internet. There's only so much you can do. If someone's really bound and determined to find out stuff about you, they can probably find it. But I'm just trying to do as much as I can. I just, when it came down to it, felt comfortable showing my whole face. Because I think a big part of that is because, I work from home. I can see a lot of people having jobs where they would be nervous about being recognized by coworkers. But I work from home. I've done a lot of creative projects in the past, so it's not like doing something like this would be hugely shocking if anyone who knew me discovered it. So, yeah, I might have thought about it briefly, but not seriously. What is your favorite video game series of all time? The Elder Scrolls series? No, that's it. That's the last one. Oh my gosh, this is the longest video I've ever made. I don't even know if my computer's going to be able to handle this. So yeah, that's all of them. Thank you all so much for contributing their questions. I hope you enjoy this. I'm looking forward to making lots more videos for you. I'm looking forward to another year and another one after that. I'm so pleased and so grateful and so happy with all that we've built together here. So, if you're still awake, if you're still there, please know that I'm so grateful that you stuck around. Not just for this video, but for my whole journey so far with this channel. Y'all are so amazing. So much of what makes this channel an incredible passion project for me is my incredible viewers. My incredible viewers who support me with likes and views and thoughtful comments. I have a bunch of people who support me on Patreon. I know not everyone can, so it's okay if you can't. But a lot of people support me on Patreon, and that's huge for me. It's a huge help. So thank you to all of you. And yeah, y'all are the best. Thank you so much.